All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to IRI. My name is Adam King. I'm IRI's Director for East Asia and the Pacific, and we're very honored to have Ji-Sung Ho here today. He's a longtime friend of IRI, even longer time defender of North Korean human rights. And we also want to thank the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea for co-hosting this event with us. I think most of you know who Ji-Sung Ho is. I'm not going to give him a long introduction. I'd rather us just get quite quickly into the discussion. But I do want to mention three things from Ji-Sung Ho's history that I think kind of explain who he is. First, as probably you know, he grew up in North Korea. Not only did he grow up in North Korea, but he grew up in the 1990s, which, as many of you know, was a terrible time of famine. So not only is this a very impoverished country, but he was living in an impoverished country in an impoverished time. He escaped. It was not an easy escape. It was a perilous one, and it was a long one, but he made his way to South Korea. And I think that just kind of talks about the resilience of Ji-Sung Ho. Second, he founded an NGO, Now Action for Unity and Human Rights. It's an organization that broadcasts information into North Korea and facilitates resettlement of defectors in South Korea. And I think that kind of shows his creativity and leadership. And then third, he was elected to South Korea's National Assembly in 2020. He has about, I think, 8 more days as a National Assembly member. And so I don't need to tell you that that is a real rarity for a North Korean defector to become a National Assembly member. So it also shows just his, I guess, another example of his leadership, basically. So in addition to Ji-Sung Ho today, we also have Greg Scarlito. We've invited him to also be a discussant with us. Thank you for coming, Greg. He is the executive director of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. And they are a very, very prolific organization. If you are not aware of who they are, I suggest you go to their website and find one of their many, many reports which focus on detention facilities, regime dynamics, vulnerable groups, information environment, you name it. If it's about North Korea, HRNK talks about it and covers it. And then finally, moderating our discussion today is Erica Kim. She is currently IRI's Senior Operations Manager for the Asia Pacific, but formerly she was IRI's Program Manager for North Korea. So she's worked on North Korea for a very long time. So we're very glad to have Erica moderating this discussion. With that, I'd like to hand over to Ji-Sung Ho to give a little bit of introductory remarks before we get into the discussion.
예, 안녕하십니까. 저는 대한민국 국회의원으로 일하고 있는 지성호입니다.
Nice to meet you, everyone. I'm a member of the National Assembly. My name is Ji-Sung Ho.
예, 저는 자유의 소중함을 매일매일 느끼는 사람입니다.
I'm the kind of person that feels how valuable it is to live in freedom.
정말 숨을 쉴 수가 없고 정말 이동할 수도 없었고 그 땅에서 정말 많은 가족들을 그 땅에 묻고 탈출을 감행했고 정말 1만 킬로를 돌아서 자유를 찾아서 대한민국에 왔는데 국회의원으로서 또 일할 수 있는 자격도 우리 국민들이 주었습니다.
I escaped from a country where there was no freedom at all. I walked 6,000 miles, 10,000 kilometers throughout China and to find the freedom in South Korea. I was lucky enough to serve as the member of the National Assembly afterwards.
저는 4년이라는 의정 활동 기간에 정말 최선을 다해서 일했는데 그 이유는 북한에 있는 보통 사람들, 북한에 핍박받는 90% 이상의 사람들이 자유를 찾아간 지성호가 행복하고 정말 국민들의 사랑을 받으면서 국민을 위해서 일하는 모습이 전달돼야 된다고 생각했기 때문에 더욱 열심히 일했습니다.
I did my best for last 4 years, mainly because I wanted to let the North Korean people know that there's somebody who is working for the people in North Korea, and also one of the North Koreans is working hard for their rights in Seoul.
예, 4년간의 의정 활동을 통해서 많은 성과들도 있었습니다만 그것은 이제 또 토론 시간에 이제 말씀드리도록 하고요.
There are some achievements that I want to share with you during the discussion.
예, 저에게는 꿈이 있습니다. 그
I have a dream.
그 꿈은 자유를 빼앗긴 2,500만 명의 북한 주민들도 자유를 숨쉬게 하는 것이고요.
That dream is to give freedom to 25 million North Korean people who are deprived of freedom.
그 친구들이 마음 놓고 여권을 만들어서 워싱턴 DC를 관광할 수 있는 그날을 만들어 주는 것입니다.
And I hope someday my North Korean brothers and sisters will have chance to visit a city like Washington D.C. just like me.
예, 배고픔에 아이들이 영양실조로 굶어 죽는 상황을 끝낼 것이고
I want to end the poverty and starvation of North Korean people and children.
국제사회의 일원으로서 또 통일 대한민국의 국민으로서 살아가는 그날을 만들어내는 것입니다.
And I want them to live in a reunified country, reunified Korea, and a member of the international community.
오늘 이 귀한 자리를 마련해 주신 IRI 회장님 그리고 여기 계신 아담 우리 관계자분들께 진심으로 감사드리고요.
Also, I would like to thank President of the IRI who gave me this great opportunity, and also Adam who worked so hard for this event.
그리고 오늘 이 자리에 오신 한 분 한 분께 진심으로 감사드립니다.
Also, I want to thank everyone who has come to here to participate in this discussion.
우리의 자유를 향한 또 자유를 숨쉬고 싶어하는 사람들을 도우려고 하는 이 모임은 정말 앞으로도 수많은 사람들에게 더 영감을 줄 것이고 우리가 이런 노력들을 계속해 나갈 때 지금 여러 국가들에서 전쟁도 일어나고 있는데 인권이 살아 숨쉬는 날이 될 것이라고 생각합니다.
I hope this event can be an inspiration for those who seek desperately for freedom, and also those countries who are suffering under war and other deprivation of freedom.
다시 한번 감사합니다.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblyman G, for your inspirational opening remarks. As Adam mentioned, I'm Erica Kim, the Senior Operations Manager for the Asia Pacific here at IRI. And I'm very excited to be moderating this discussion with our two speakers, Assemblyman G and Greg, on the theme of a unified voice of North Korean human rights. So to start the discussion, I want to set the scene. So South Korea held its 22nd general election just last month, and the election resulted in the main opposition party, the Democratic Party, or the DP, to secure 175 of the 300 National Assembly seats, and the People Power Party, or the PPP, the party of the current president, to secure 108 seats. Notably, the election also resulted in a splinter progressive party called the Rebuilding Korea Party, or the RKP, to win 12 seats. And I think it's also important to note that this general election recorded the highest voter turnout rate in 32 years at 67%. So with this context, and this is a question for both speakers, but perhaps we can begin with Assemblyman G. What are the implications of the results of the recent general elections on the Yoon administration's foreign policy, especially as it relates to North-South relations?
일단은 참 아쉽게 됐습니다. 일단은 참 아쉽게 됐고요. 제가 속한 당에서는 108석이라는 좀 아픈 성적표를 이제 받아들었습니다.
So personally, I think it's regrettable that the party that I work for lost the election.
예, 아쉽지만 이제 현실은 받아들여야 되죠.
But that happened. That was a popular vote, so I accept the outcome.
그것이 이제 민주주의라고 생각하는데요. 지금 총선에 있어가지고 뭐 저희가 좀 많은 의석을 이뤘지만 사실은 대북 정책에 있어가지고 큰 변화는 없을 거라고 생각합니다.
So that's how democracy works. And even though the PPP, the current ruling party, lost the general election, I don't expect much change in the course of North Korean policy for the Yoon administration.
근데 뭐 외교 정책에도 크게 영향을 미치지는 않을 거라고 생각하는데요. 지금 윤석열 정부가 추구하는 것은 이제 글로벌 중추국가입니다.
And also, I don't expect much change in the foreign policy of the Yoon administration. Currently, the main theme of President Yoon's foreign policy is global pivot country.
이제 대한민국의 경제적 규모라든가 이제 그 위상에 맞게끔 국제사회에서 역할을 함께 해나가려고 하는 것이 글로벌 중추국가의 기본 이제 모델이고요.
So the Yoon administration is seeking to strengthen its position in the global community by pursuing this policy of global pivot state.
뭐 국제 기구에 대한 이제 분담금이라든가 뭐 ODA 사업이라든가 이제 주변의 어려운 국가들의 뭐 많은 것을 이제 지원하기도 하고 있습니다.
So the Yoon administration is seeking to increase the amount of the development aid and other forms of aid providing to the international community.
예, 이제 그 질문이 이제 북한 이슈에 영향을 미칠까였는데 사실은 우리 그 북한과의 관계가 조금 그 단절이 되기 시작한 것은 이제 윤석열 정부의 전인 문재인 정부 이제 중반부터 이제 북한에서 좀 강경한 태도로 나왔고 그리고 여러 가지 큰 사건들도 있었습니다. 그래서 윤석열 정부가 들어서서 추구하려고 했던 것은 북한이 정상적인 국가로 이제 국제사회에서 역할을 할 수 있도록 또 우리가 도울 수 있는 부분을 경제적으로 됐던 뭐 식량이 됐던 도울 마음이 있고 뭐 북한의 핵이라든가 이런 것을 폐기하기를 이제 또 아니면 협상의 장으로 나오기를 이제 원했는데 그렇지 않은 현실에 있었고 뭐 지금도 계속 쭉 이어지는 것이라 뭐 당이 의석이 좀 더 줄어들었다 해가지고 대북 관계에 있어가지고 뭐 야당 특히 뭐 180석을 가진 당에서 뭐 그렇게 압박을 해서 뭐 만들어질 결과는 없다고 생각합니다.
So as to your question about this, the general elections impact on the North Korean policy, North Korean issues, actually the inter-Korean relations has been facing obstacles not since the starting of the Yoon administration, but even during the Moon Jae-in administration, the previous government, the inter-Korean relations start. So and North Korea is not responding to South Korean government's various requests. The new administration under Yoon Suk-yeol wants to negotiate with North Korea, communicate with North Korea over food aid, nuclear weapon denuclearization, but North Korea has not responded to these calls for last few years. So even though the international community and the South Korean government wants North Korea to come back to the negotiation table, it is not expected to act anytime soon. So I don't expect the outcome of the general election will have any positive impact in the current stalemate of the inter-Korean relationship. And I don't think the fact that the opposition party won more than 170 seats will have any positive impact on North Korea either.
Great, thank you. And Greg, do you have thoughts on how the election results may impact South Korean foreign policy as well as South-North relations? But also, since Assemblyman Ji brought it up, perhaps more broadly, the Yoon administration's pursuit of becoming a global pivotal state.
Absolutely. We have to admit it. Thank you, Erica. And thank you, Erica, Adam, and IRI. You're terrific colleagues. You're doing fantastic work. Let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Marcus Noland as well, our board member, vice president of the Peterson Institute. Thank you, HR&K team as well, for everything you do. Well, as we all know, South Korean elections had absolutely nothing to do with North Korea. South Korean elections had nothing to do with foreign policy. South Korean elections had nothing to do with much improved trilateral coordination amongst the USA, Japan, and South Korea. South Korean elections had absolutely nothing to do with the Camp David summit. It was all about domestic issues. And all of us, I think, do have to understand the nuances of South Korean politics. Of course, we know who created the Han River miracle. On the other hand, there are some very negative side effects of the Han River miracle that are still affecting the people of South Korea. And that's why we see this pendulum going from the left to the right. And again, as all of you said, it's terrific to see that South Korea is a democracy and there is a peaceful transition of power. How is this going to affect North Korea policy and foreign policy? Well, President Yoon Suk-yeol has a great vision for Korea as a pivot, as a mid-power. South Korea has been doing really well at the United Nations, for example, in particular on North Korean issues. I think it's a little bit difficult at the working level. In any democracy, you experience that. There's a little bit of bureaucratic inertia. I think South Korea is experiencing that as well. I do want to acknowledge National Assemblyman Chi Song-ho for everything he has done during his tenure as a National Assemblyman. 지성호 의원님, 우리가 기회가 있으면 한번 솔직하게 말씀을 나눠보죠. 그때 어떻게 됐는지. So anyway, we're willing to share the story of how he got to participate in the State of the Union address. But the whole point here is that, okay, he's been a friend for many years. One thing that I told him was, please do not become another South Korean politician. And understand South Korean politics. 제가 그때 말씀을 드렸죠. 아이고, 한국 정책을 하려면 머리도 좀 밀고 텐트 짓고 단식도 하고. So go on a hunger strike, set up tent, shave your head, demonstrate in front of the National Assembly. Maybe he didn't do some of these things, but there is no doubt that he did not become just another South Korean politician. He truly represented those 34,000 North Koreans who have resettled in South Korea. That's extraordinarily important. So, okay, to make a long story short, here in the USA, HRNK, our organization, IRI, NDI, and others, there's no politics when it comes to North Korean human rights. Our politics is to bring democracy, human rights, justice to the people of North Korea, eventually unification. Our biggest challenge is to ensure that this issue becomes a bipartisan issue in South Korea as well. So, Erica, 이상입니다. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblyman Ji, you picked up your mic. Did you have a comment or did you want to share the secret story that's been referenced by Greg?
예, 사실은 그 역사적인 사건이 저희 삶을 좀 바꿔놓은 것 같아요. 그래서 제가 어떻게 국회의원이 되었나 이렇게 생각했을 때도 그때 연두교서에서 그 목발을 이제 들었던 그 장면이 굉장히 컸다고 생각하고 그때 당시 트럼프 대통령이 옆자리에 제가 앉았거든요. 백악관 오벌 오피스에 초청을 받아가지고 저는 그때 생각했던 것이 이제 김정은이가 이제 자기 자리가 뺏길까봐 이제 빨리 이제 정상회담을 하려고 하지 않을까 이런 생각이 있었는데 그 이후에 여러 일들이 있었습니다만.
So as Greg mentioned about the State of the Union, I just want to mention some things that the event really changed my life. I think I was able to become the member of the National Assembly because of that event. I was invited to the State of the Union in 2018 at the invitation of President Trump. I was able to raise the crutches that I used when I crossed the Tuman River in front of the members of the Congress and crowd. I was invited to the Oval Office the next day. I sat next to President Trump. At that moment, I thought that Kim Jong-un might feel afraid and might feel fearful of losing his seat that's supposed to be next to President Trump. So he might want to facilitate a summit with him in the future. So that's what I thought at the moment.
예, 그때 이제 그 스칼레트 총장께서 그 저에게 전화를 주셨었죠. 그래서 저희 너무 친한 사이니까. 정말 이제 친한 사이니까 전화를 주시는데 한국말 잘하시는 거 아시잖아요. 지성호 대표님 전화 와서 지성호 대표님 워싱턴에 한번 이제 오셨으면 좋겠는데 꼭 오셔야 될 것 같고 아주 중요한 행사가 이제 있을 것 같습니다. 그런데 그 올 때 그 목발을 이제 가지고 오면 참 좋겠습니다. 이렇게 전화가 왔어요. 그래서 이게 무슨 뜻일까 하는 생각은 이제 그 생각이 들었고 그리고 사실은 지금 말씀드릴 수도 있는데 그냥 오시기 며칠 전에 다시 이제 어떤 행사라는 걸 말씀드릴 수도 있고 또 아니면 나를 믿는다면 그러면 와서 아셔도 괜찮을 것 같습니다. 이런 이야기를 저한테 했어요. 그러니까 저도 뭐 북한을 나와서 이제 자유를 찾아오기까지 뭐 우리 한국말로는 산전수전을 다 겪다 보니까 어마어마하게 큰 행사가 있다는 것은 눈치는 챘는데 어느 정도일지는 몰랐는데 이제 도착을 하니까 워싱턴 이제 달라스 공항에 이제 도착을 하니까 이런 행사라는 것을 알게 되었고 사실은 그렇게 이제 뭐 이야기 듣고도 이제 잘 몰랐는데 그 현장에 가서 그 감동이 이제 뭐 100배가 됐던 것 같아요. 그래서 사실은 정말 이 자리를 빌어서 그 중요한 일을 만들어낸 스칼라트 총장님께 이제 감사드리고 싶어요.
So Mr. Scarlatti and myself were very good friends for many years. But this is before the State of Union. So one day he called me from DC to when I was in Seoul. He called me as you saw him in fluent Korean. He asked me to come to DC for a very special occasion. He didn't explain, he didn't elaborate, but he asked me to trust him. And also he wanted me to bring the crutches that I used when I crossed the Chongwon River. So I wondered what kind of big event that would be. I've been through many at that point I was a human rights activist. I've been through many events. I knew that there would be a very important event. I trusted him, so he told me that if you insist, I can tell you what the event will be, but if you just can trust me, I'll let you know what the event will be when you come to DC. So I trusted, and I went to DC. I arrived at the Dulles airport. I met with him. So that's how I found about that I'll be in the State of Union. So that really that made me really very shocked, and I was very impressed, and it was a very meaningful moment for my life.
Thank you for sharing that very monumental moment with us. Greg, you mentioned in your remarks that South Korea has been quite active in the UN, but I'm also aware that HRNK is quite active with the UN bodies. And I actually think you held an event late last year about employing the human rights upfront approach in multilateral institutions such as the UN. So I wanted to kind of give you the floor to talk a little bit about that and how it might relate to all of our efforts in promoting North Korean human rights.
Yeah, it's extraordinarily important to understand. Last week on Friday, we published a report entitled Slaves to the Bomb. It's about the fate and human rights of North Korean nuclear scientists. The point we're making is that human rights and political security issues are related. One cannot understand North Korea without understanding South Korea. One cannot understand Korean Peninsula issues without understanding the Asia Pacific. One cannot be boxed in as a human rights organization. These sets of issues are related, and this is our big mission moving forward, highlighting the nexus between human rights and the other very important issues, nuclear, long-range ballistic missiles. We have to wake up and realize that the second Cold War has already begun. We're in the midst of it. It's getting very hot at times. North Korea is proliferating artillery shells and small arms ammunition to Russia, from the North Korean port of Rason up to Dunai via ship from Dunai all the way to the Rostov Oblast, all the way across the Russian south. The Russians have been experiencing this mismatch between supply and demand owing to the North Koreans, they have been able to outshell the Ukrainians 5-1, 10,000 to 2,000 shells a day, and that's nothing. There's also the North Korean ballistic missiles that have been sent to the Russian front. Shells, North Korean ammunition, well, you know, they've been stored for a long time. The primers melt and the quality is not great. North Korean missiles, they're on the Ukrainian front for 3 reasons. Number 1, to make money. Number 2, to test them. Number 3, to advertise them to their customers, in particular Iran. Iran has been proliferating North Korean armaments, ammunition, missiles as well to its proxies, to Hamas, Hezbollah, to the Houthis. Think of the awful attack, the awful Iranian attack against Israel. The liquid fuel missiles used in that attack were based on a North Korean design. So I'm not a missile guy, I'm not a weapons guy. The point I'm trying to make is that this is not a regional issue. This is a global issue. Under the current circumstances, under this second Cold War, we cannot allow the Korean Peninsula to continue to be divided. The one and ultimate solution is unification under a free, democratic, prosperous Republic of Korea, staunch friend, ally, and partner of the United States, and this coalition of like-minded democracies. This rift at the UN, there is no reconciliation. We are dealing with powers that are, threatening and challenging the very fabric of the international system. We all deal with Korean unification issues. We really, really, really have to get this done. And once again, I'm grateful that North Korean escapees so dedicated, such as National Assemblyman Ji Sung-ho, are with us on the same team. And, as we like to say along the alliance, 같이 갑시다. Let's go together. Let's do this together.
So Greg just kind of opened up the scope of our discussion to global crises outside of the Korean Peninsula. And so Assemblyman Ji, I'd also like to hear your perspective on how external factors may play into South Korea's policies towards North Korea. Some external factors can be what Greg mentioned in terms of North Korea and Russia's increased coordination, but also US-China competition and upcoming US elections as well. How might those things also affect South Korea's policies towards North Korea?
참 이제 대한민국의 외교에 있어가지고 우리는 글로벌 중추국가로서의 역할은 다 하고 있지만 또 현실에 있어가지고 어려운 부분들도 분명히 있는 것 같아요. 그래서 예를 들면 이제 그 미중 이제 문제라든가 그것에 있어서의 그 대한민국의 위치 그리고 역할, 우리는 튼튼한 한미 동맹과 이제 안보를 지켜야 하는 그런 현실에 있어가지고의 그 역할도 다 해야 되지만 또 뭐 국제사회에서 뭐 책임 있는 국가로서의 역할도 해야 되는 그런 상황이기도 하죠. 그런데 지금 제가 한 가지 좀 더 짚고 넘어가야 될 문제는 중국도 책임 있는 역할을 다 해야 된다. 그것에 있어가지고 주변국을 속국처럼 아니면 그런 식으로 대하는 것은 굉장히 잘못된 것이고, 특히 뭐 저는 북한 인권 활동가로서 중국 내 탈북자들을 북송하는 문제라든가 이것은 우리 선의에 좀 반하는 것이 아닌가 그렇게 생각하고요.
So I think the current Yoon administration of South Korea is doing well with its agenda of the global pivotal state, and there's much achievement. However, there are some realistic obstacles as well, especially as you mentioned, the U.S.-China competition is making the South Korea position very delicate. I fully support the ROK-U.S. alliance and the security necessity of the alliance and our allies, and also I recognize the need for the South Korea to become a responsible party in the international society. However, one thing that I really want to emphasize is that the China's role as a responsible party must be met. I think as a former North Korean human rights activist as well, I really want to demand China to play a responsible party's role in the international community. I think it's unacceptable for Chinese government to repatriate North Korean refugees back to North Korea. This is against the basis of the international community's tenets. This is a serious violation of their rights. So I really want to take this opportunity to demand Chinese governments to play a responsible party's role.
특히 이제 러시아와 이제 북한과의 그 협력이 좀 깊어짐으로 인해 가지고 북한제 무기가 러시아에 가서 이제 우크라이나 전쟁에 쓰여지고 있는 현실에 있고, 또 북한 같은 경우는 이제 더 많은 이제 무기를 생산하기 위한 또 기술적인 측면에서 러시아의 도움을 받으려고 하는 그런 움직임이 이제 포착이 되고 있고, 또한 이제 북한 같은 경우가 지금 대북 제재를 회피하기 위한 수단으로서 북한 노동자들을 러시아에 많이 파견하고 있는데, 앞으로 대량으로 파견할 것으로 보여지고, 그로 인해서 만들어진 외화는 그 노동자들 손에 가는 것이 아니라 북한 당국에 다시 들어가서 무기를 생산하는 데 쓰여질 것이고, 이런 현실 가운데서 이제 한국 정부가 러시아와 한국과의 관계, 그리고 대한민국과 이제 북한과의 관계에 있어가지고 굉장히 지금 뭐 중요하고도 더 강력하게 해야 될 이제 여러 일들이 있는 것 같습니다.
And as to the cooperation between Russia and North Korea, I know it will cause North Korea to produce more weapons. More North Korean weapons are being exported to the Russian-Ukraine war front, and there's a technology transfer. There's a increasing output in North Korea. So I know there will be. I expect to see more North Korean slave laborers being exported to Russia, and all of the money that they get paid will be sent to the North Korean regime, and they will in turn use the money to produce more weapons. So I think it's time for the South Korean government to take more decisive yet difficult actions in the Russian-Korean relations and also inter-Korean relations.
특히 이제 중국과 이제 러시아가 유엔 안전보장 이사회 상임 이사국임에도 불구하고 대북 제재에 있어가지고 반대 입장을 낸다든가, 이런 모습은 지금 비상임 이사국으로 들어가 있는 대한민국이 회의 협의체에 함께 하고 있지만도 영향력을 이제 발휘할 수가 없는, 어찌 보면 앞에 스칼라토 총장님께서 말씀하신 것처럼 제2의 그런 이제 냉전이 지금 시작되는 현실을 이제 볼 수가 있는데, 남북 관계는 굉장히 악영향인 것이죠. 네.
So the Russia and China are members of the UN Security Council, and however, they are the loopholes of the sanctions, the UN sanctions against North Korea. And that's making the role of South Korean government, which is the member of the non-permanent member of the UN UN Security Council, to have a limited role. So as Mr. Scarlett mentioned, I see the second Cold War started, and so we are in a very delicate and difficult situation.
뭐 이제 미국 이제 대선에 있어서도 이제 북한이 영향력을 이제 미치려고 할 것으로 제가 보여집니다. 그래서 사실은 북한이 자기 몸값을 올리려고 할 것인데, 그것이 이제 미국 대선이 있는 그 전 뭐 한 달 전, 두 달 전, 예를 들면 뭐 9월이나 10월 중에 그런 이제 뭐 대형 도발을 할 수도 있다 하는 생각을 저는 하게 되는데, 뭐 7차 핵실험이 될 수도 있을 것이고, 또 아니면 최근에 우리 정보 당국에서 이야기가 있었는데 동남아에 있는 우리 그 외교관들에 대한 테러를 준비하고 있다, 뭐 이런 이야기도 있었고, 국지적인 도발이 있을 수도 있고, 결론적으로 이제 북한이 원하는 것은 미국과 이제 직접적인 협상을 해가지고 빅딜을 통해 가지고 국교 정상화에 로 이제 나가야만 이제 북한 사회가 전반적으로 이제 회생될 수 있다, 이런 생각을 김정은이 갖고 있는 것 같아가지고, 사실은 이제 미국 대선도 우리 대한민국에 주는 지금 그 바가 굉장히 큰 상황입니다.
And also, I think the general election in November in the United States will have a great impact. North Korea's Kim Jong-un obviously wants to raise the stake. He may want to do a more provocatory behavior in the coming months right before the election, like maybe September and October. He might do another nuclear test, or he, as South Korean intelligence agency warned, he might commit some terrorist activities in Southeast Asia, targeting South Korea's diplomats or citizens, and so all of this is intended to have a resolve a big deal with the United States and normalize the relationship between Pyongyang and Washington, so they can get recognized in the international society.
예. 지금 이제 남북 관계는 굉장히 좀 안 좋은 상황에 있고, 이제 북한이 이제 북한의 주민들이 이제 70년 동안 원하고 북한에 세습해온 그 당위성이었던 통일도 원치 않는다. 무력으로 그 남한을 침략을 하겠다. 이 정도로 이제 대놓고 전쟁을 이제 불사하겠다는 협박성의 메시지가 계속 나오고 있는 그런 상황에 있습니다.
And the inter-Korean relations is in a bad situation as well. North Korea has given up the idea of reunification, which it has advocated for last 7 decades, and which also kind of justified their successive regimes. However, they gave up the idea of reunification. They are increasingly talk about military invasion of South Korea, and this is making the political situation in the inter-Korean relations very hard and hard to solve.
Thank you. Assemblyman Ji has just outlined some of the vast issues on the Korean Peninsula and between North-South relations. But on a more positive note, I wanted to move over into a conversation about global advocacy efforts for North Korean human rights. So, human rights atrocities in the highest degree is being perpetuated in North Korea. That hasn't changed. We've also seen abysmal defection rates since 2020 with the onset of the COVID-19 border closures, as well as new barriers constructed along the DPRK border, and the anti-reactionary law that was passed inside of North Korea that discourages and deters communication from the outside with North Koreans in the country. So, Greg, in this dark post-COVID context, can you tell us a little bit more about the global advocacy efforts of your organization and any recommendations or kind of lessons learned you'd like for all of us to consider as advocates for North Korean human rights?
Erika, thank you very much. A couple of weeks ago, we witnessed a very serious development, and that was Russia vetoing a UN Security Council resolution to renew the mandate of the panel of experts, as mentioned by National Assemblyman Ji Sung-ho and you. We're talking. Civil society organizations are talking, and I can tell you, I think they will be okay to let you know that Human Rights Watch, Han Voice, and others are with us in this. We are advocating for the UN General Assembly to commission an impartial and independent expert team on North Korea, on the DPRK. We want to see a focus on the connections between international peace and security and human rights abuses in North Korea as well. This expert team that we are proposing would report annually to UN member states. The expert team would also assist the UN General Assembly and Security Council in carrying out their respective mandates. Of course, the team would collect, analyze, interpret information. You'll understand why this is necessary, and of course, you're going to ask the fundamental question, where will the funding come from? Well, the funding should come out of the UN regular budget. However, for a while, it may have to rely on voluntary funding until it is included in the regular UN budget. And even once it is included in the regular UN budget, like-minded states may still need to provide funding to this investigative body. You know, we should not lose momentum just because of the Russian veto. On the contrary, we should gain momentum to put the two issues together to focus on the security and human rights nexus. How many of you have studied conflict resolution? Please show hands. Okay, that's fantastic. How many of you are familiar with the concept of the ZOPA, the Zone of Possible Agreement? All of you, I know. The BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated deal. Well, the North Koreans do not go to the school of the ZOPA or the BATNA, getting to yes. They go to the school of the zero-sum game. Your loss, international community, is our gain. We have to keep that in mind. And most importantly, of course, we have to rely on like-minded states. But who are the like-minded? The United States, the European Union, the Republic of Korea, Japan. Okay, you may disagree with the term. I'm going to use it. I don't fully agree with it. The global north, right? Where is the global south? We do have some allies. I think it's extraordinarily important to build up support within the world of developing countries as well. It's very important to keep expanding this international coalition. So, Erica, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And as Adam mentioned in his opening remarks, Assemblyman Gee, prior to becoming a National Assemblyman, founded a civic organization called Now Action and Unity for Human Rights, or NOW, and to date now has rescued over 450 North Korean defectors. So they're doing really great, impactful work. So I want to pose the same question to Assemblyman Gee. Can you speak on some of the lessons learned on global advocacy from your experience as a civil society leader and as an assemblyman? And also, if you can reflect on the North Korean human rights movement writ large in South Korea, and maybe speak on its strengths and areas for improvement or more investment that's necessary.
사실은 이제 대한민국 국민들이 북한 인권에 대해서 많이 관심을 가지지는 못하는 것 같아요. 그 70년이라는 세월을 이제 70년 넘게 떨어져 살아온 것도 있겠고, 북한이라는 그 체제가 세습을 이어오다 보니까 그건 정상적인 체제라고 보기가 어렵고, 또 거기다가 이제 그 지도자라고 할 수 있는 사람들이 막말을 하고, 뭐 이제 사람들이 이제 굶어 죽고, 뭐 이런 이야기를 이제 뭐 가끔 뉴스에서 보면 그냥 관심을 갖고 싶지 않은, 좀 어찌 보면 우리 지금 동네에 함께 살기는 굉장히 싫은, 그냥 떠올리기 싫은 이제 그런 존재로 이제 여기는 것 같아요.
So there, in reality, there's little interest of South Korean among South Korean people of North Korean human rights issues. North Korea and South Korea have been separated for more than 7 decades. There's Kim Dynasty, there are bad leaders, starvation, or there are bad news coming from North Korea. So it's like South Korean people don't want to talk about North Korea. They don't want to hear about North Korea. It's like knowing somebody, some of your neighbor who is a bully, so you don't want to see them, you don't want to talk to them.
그래서 제가 했던 이야기는, 그 나우가 만들어질 때 이제 주변 사람들에게 했던 이야기는, 북한에 이제 김정일, 그 당시 김정일 당시였죠. 김정일도 있고, 북한에 뭐 노동당도 있고, 핍박하는 계층이 있으면 다수의 사람들은 그 고통에서 벗어나고 싶어하는 이제 일반 보통 시민들이고, 고통을 받고 있고, 그 누군가의 도움이 없으면 그 탈출할 수 있는 탈출구가 없다. 그러니까 우리가 바라보는 자세가 북한 정권과 북한 인민은 다르게 봐야 된다고 이야기했죠.
So when I first founded the organization Now, Kim Jong-il was the North Korea's leader at the time, and the Korean Workers' Party, which is still the ruling party of North Korea. And then there are absolute majority of North Korean people who are being persecuted and who are suffering under the regime. So I wanted to let the South Korean public know that we have to separate the North Korean people and the regime. These people want to escape from North Korea, and they cannot do this without the outside help.
그리고 제가 이야기했던 것이 사람이 태어날 때 본인이 태어날 나라를 자기가 정할 수는 없다. 그런데 태어나 보니까 북한이었고 저는 그런 북한을 탈출하기 위해서 목숨을 걸었고 그 과정에 수많은 사람 가족들을 죽이고 그러니까 그 땅에 이제 북한 정권에게 이제 피해를 당해서 죽었고 그리고 살아남아 왔다. 이렇게 제가 이야기를 했고 언젠가는 북한도 자유가 깃들 것이다. 왜냐하면 그 진리를 거스를 수는 없는 것이고 정의가 결국은 이제 이어지는 그런 세상이 올 거기 때문에 북한은 반드시 자유가 깃들 것인데 그때 북한 주민들에게 가서 죽어가는 당신들을 위해서 우리가 조금이나마의 행동을 했다고 이야기할 수 있는 것이 자유민주주의를 사는 사람으로서 또 더 많이 배운 사람으로서 해야 할 가장 기본적인 도리가 아니겠냐 이렇게 이야기를 했죠.
And we cannot choose in which country we are born. I was born in North Korea. I didn't choose North Korea as my birthplace, and so I tried to escape North Korea. I escaped North Korea at the expense of some of my family members' death. They got killed. Partly because I escaped from North Korea. But I firmly believe that North Korea will achieve freedom someday. I believe that justice will win at the end, and North Korea will be free at the end. And when that time comes, I want to tell my North Korean brothers and sisters that I did something for their freedom. And I think it's the responsibility of everybody who lives in the free world to do their efforts for people like in North Koreans.
예, 이제 한 500명에 달하는 탈북자들을 이제 구출할 수가 있었는데 그 500명은 단지 숫자가 아니라 자유를 찾고 싶어하는 한 사람 한 사람의 그 영혼들이었다는 면에서 저는 정말 이제 뭐 인생이 끝난다 해도 참 내가 사는 지구에 왔다가 가면서 의미 있는 일을 했다는 제 생각이 이제 들고요. 그리고 제가 의정 활동을 하면서도 도움이 됐던 것은 나우 단체가 보수 청년들만 있는 것이 아니었어요. 중도 보수 친구들도 있었고 중도를 성향을 갖고 친구들도 있었고 중도 이제 좌쪽인 친구들도 있었고 또 이제 연세가 많으신 뭐 고모님도 있으면 뭐 10살짜리 회원도 있었고 이 사람들이 하나의 조화를 만들어서 성공적으로 이끌었다는 것에 대해서 굉장히 감사했고 또 의정 활동을 하는 데 있어서도 제가 10명의 보좌진을 함께 일해야 되는데 그 성공적으로 국회의원의 일도 마무리하는 데 있어서 도움이 됐던 것 같아요.
So the organization that I founded now has rescued almost 500 North Korean refugees, but I don't want to focus on the numbers. I think every one of them represents one freedom-loving, freedom-seeking soul. So that's how meaningful it was to rescue them. And also another meaningful thing that I achieved during my activities as a human rights activist was that I was able to recruit people from various political backgrounds. There were people who are conservative, there are people who are in the middle, there are people who are progressive, there are also people who are old, young. So all of these people with diverse background came together to help North Korean refugees to escape and for freedom. So I think that was particularly meaningful. And I was also able to work with staff members, about 10 of my staff during my time at the National Assembly with various political backgrounds.
예, 뭐 북한 인권 캠페인, 라디오 방송 뭐 그 외에도 뭐 민주주의 활동가 교육 등 이제 수많은 활동들을 했고 지금도 역할을 계속해 오고 있습니다. 그래서 참으로 정말 중요한 일을 한다 하는 생각이 이제 들고요. 정치를 하면서도 이제 저는 북한 인권 활동가의 삶을 살았습니다. 그래서 한 3년 전에 이제 미국에 와서 조야에서 톰 렌토스 위원회를 통해 가지고 대북 전단 금지법을 막는 청문회를 이제 만들어내기도 했었고 최근 들어서는 이제 북한 인권 박물관 그 예산을 국회의원으로서 확보를 했죠. 그런데 안타까웠던 것은 이제 워싱턴 D.C. 등 이제 전 세계에 유대인의 그 학살을 기리는 박물관은 많은데 대한민국 서울에 북한 주민들을 기리는 박물관 하나 없다는 것이 안타까웠고 아마 곧 시각적으로 보고 북한 정권이 얼마나 잔인한지를 볼 수 있는 그런 역사적인 박물관이 만들어질 것 같습니다.
So and also us, in addition to rescue operations, now also worked on human rights advocacy, education, trainings, and street campaigns. So they are all important activities to raise the awareness. And also, I consider myself as a human rights activist as well as the member of the National Assembly for last 4 years. For example, I was able to come to DC. Visited Tom Lantos committee at Congress and worked on organized a hearing to demand South Korean government to discard the legislation to prohibit sending leaflets to North Korea for freedom. And also one other thing that I'm proud of the achievement is that I was able to allocate the budget for North Korean Human Rights Museum in South Korea. I always regretted that I have seen many Holocaust museums for the Jewish people, their persecution during the Nazi Germany in all around the world and many cities around the world. However, in Seoul, there was not a single North Korean Human Rights Museum. So I hope this museum can be a visual place for visual images of North Korean human rights violations so people can understand better.
Really incredible work from both of our speakers and from both of the organizations. This is going to be my last question before I open it up to Q&A. So for those who have a question for our speakers, please just line up behind either of the microphone stands. And if you don't mind providing a brief introduction, just your name and affiliation would be great. So my last question, we've had a chance to talk about efforts within the civic space, but I also wanted to provide a little platform for Assemblyman Gee to talk about this initiative that he's been building up in the Assembly called the Asia Pacific Parliamentary Union for Freedom and Human Rights in Northeast Asia, or APUNEA, which is a mouthful. Can you tell us a little bit about your intentions and vision for that, what I understand as a multilateral consultative body?
가장 이제 중요한 것은 이제 대한민국의 그 외교에 있어서도 남북 관계에 있어서도 국제사회와의 협력입니다. 특히 한미동맹의 강화가 이제 중요하고요. 북한이 핵을 가지고 있다고 공식적으로 우리가 이야기하고 있진 않지만 실질적으로는 지금 핵을 가지고 있는 것으로 보이는 북한을 우리 대한민국은 상대해야 되는 것이고 북한은 전쟁의 방법을 사용하겠다고 협박을 하고 있는 그 상황에 있어가지고 지금은 이제 전략자산 핵 전략 자산이 한반도 특히 이제 대한민국의 이제 순환적으로 이제 배치가 순환적으로 와서 이제 그 북한의 그 위협으로부터 대응을 하고 있습니다만 앞으로 이런 부분들이 어떻게 되냐 하는 그 질문이 계속 나오고 있고 또 특히 지금 미국 대선을 앞두고 이 문제를 어떻게 이제 해결해야 되고 주한미군이 어느 만큼 한미동맹이 더 강화해야 되는 그런 문제가 제기되고 있는데 사실은 이제 동맹으로서의 그런 역할이 그 어느 때보다 중요하다는 이제 말씀을 이제 드리고 싶고요.
So first of all, I want to emphasize how important it is for South Korean government to maintain a good relationship with the international society and also its allies, especially the United States, in its foreign policy and also inter-Korean relations. North Korea is, South Korean government and the international society have not recognized North Korea as an official nuclear state, but however, it possesses nuclear weapons in reality. So it is threatening the outside world with nuclear weapons, and I understand the strategic nuclear assets of the allies are being rotated in South Korea. So I think it's very important to to have a good relationship with the allies. And also there's an issue of the general election in November in the United States. There are fears and rumors of U.S. forces being pulled out, and there are many South Korean people are worried about the future of the U.S.-Korea alliance. So I think it is very important to work together with other countries in international community.
북한이 오판하지 못하도록 하기 위해서 반드시 필요한 부분이었고요. 지금 뭐 우크라이나와 이제 러시아 간의 전쟁이 지금 진행 중에 있고, 또 중국과 대만의 이제 전쟁도 있을 수 있다는 여러 일각의 이야기가 나오고 있는데, 그 한반도도 지금은 이제 안전한 곳은 절대로 아니다는 말씀을 이제 드리고 싶고, 김정은이 오판하지 않도록 이제 우리 국제사회, 특히 자유민주주의 국가들의 그 연대와 자유를 지키려는 그 의지가 그 어느 때보다 중요하고 힘을 합쳐야 된다고 생각합니다.
And I also believe that we have to prevent Kim Jong-un from miscalculation. There's a war between Russia and Ukraine currently, and there is a high chance of war between China and Taiwan over the cross-strait relations. And also, I don't think Korean Peninsula is a safe place anymore. So I think it's very important to have Kim Jong-un force him not to miscalculate. And in order to do that, we have to cooperate among all of the countries in the free world to face this threat and issue.
Great, thank you for those reflections. Q&A session has begun. So please feel free to come up. Thank you. Okay.
My name is Michelle Beltran. I'm the Senior Program Associate for IRI's Korea program. So my question is related to the trilateral cooperation between South Korea, the US, and Japan. So we've seen a recent focus from the South Korea Ministry of Unification on working with Japan to solve the abductee issue. How can we take advantage of this to increase North Korean human rights awareness and advocacy? Thank you.
네, 그 납북자 문제도 굉장히 중요한 문제이고요. 북한 정권의 인권 침해 그 뭐랄까요, 그 한 면을 보여주는 아주 중대한 이제 북한의 이제 범죄 행위라고 생각합니다. 그래서 최근 우리 통일부가 북한 인권의 그 범주 안에 있어가지고 납북자 문제도 이제 해결할 수 있는 그런 방향으로 일할 것을 이제 이야기했고, 특히 탈북해 그러니까 자유를 찾아 탈북해 대한민국에 온 탈북민들에게 뭐 북한에 이제 납북돼 있었던 사람들의 신상이라든가 또 여러 이제 알 수 있는 이런 그 정보가 있으면 그것을 수집해서 일본에 이제 제공하고 협력하는 것으로 이야기됐고요. 한미일 삼각 동맹을 말씀드렸는데 사실은 굉장히 이제 중요합니다. 우리 한반도는 한미일 동맹이 아니면 대한민국은 굉장히 어려운 상황에 처해 있는 것이고요. 그 지도를 보면 아시겠지만 북한도 핵을 가지고 있다고 하고, 중국도 핵을 가진 국가이고, 러시아도 핵을 가진 국가에서 자유민주주의를 지킬 수 있는 라인이 대한민국 이제 뭐 최전방에 있는 것이고, 그리고 일본, 대만 같은 나라들이 있는 것이죠. 그래서 이 삼각 동맹에 대한 이런 그 뭐랄까 소외되는 아니면 좀 서운한 이런 부분이 없도록 굉장히 노력을 해야 되는 것이고요. 특히 윤석열 대통령께서 일본과의 그런 이제 통큰 결단을 이제 내려가지고 굉장히 좋은 관계를 이어가고 있는데, 그것이 대북 억제에 있어가지고 가장 큰 역할을 하고 있다고 생각합니다. 또한 말씀드렸던 것처럼 미국의 그 전략 자산들이 순환적으로 계속 한반도를 이제 주변을 또 지켜주고 하는 것들이 도움이 된다고 생각합니다.
So I think abductee issue is a very important aspect of the whole North Korean human rights violation issues. It is very imperative, and I understand the Ministry of Unification recently published its statement to focus on the abductee issues. So, for example, it is collecting information among the North Korean defectors who came to South Korea about the information about the abductees and their whereabouts, and it's trying to provide that information collected among the refugees to the Japanese government. So, and also I think you mentioned the trilateral alliance between South Korea, Japan, and the United States. Without the alliance, I think South Korea will be in much more difficult situation. The alliance is very crucial. If you look at the map of Northeast Asia, South Korea is placed right in front of the fight against dictatorships. China, Russia, North Korea, all of them are located north of South Korea. They all possess nuclear weapons, and South Korea is on the forefront. There are Japan and Taiwan behind it, and the United States behind it. So I think it's very important to maintain the trilateral alliance against these authoritarian regimes. I believe President Yoon made a very decisive and critical decision to restore the relationship between South Korea and Japan, and that will also help South Korea to counter the threat from North Korea.
The abduction issue is extraordinarily important to our Japanese friends, allies, and partners. We all have to remember there are only two parents who are still alive. We all remember that Mr. Shigeru Yokota, the father of Yokota Megumi, passed away just a couple of years ago. It's it goes without saying, this is an extraordinarily urgent issue. South Korea has come up with a great vision. In particular, Unification Minister Kim Yong-ho has come up with a great vision where the Minister of Unification addresses three groups of victims of the North Korean regime. South Korean POWs, old men who have been held for decades, just a handful of them left. They spent their entire lives doing hard labor, forced labor in coal mines and all kinds of difficult circumstances. Unlawfully detained South Koreans who are still in North Korea. And of course, and here we're talking about, for example, Christian ministers being held by the North Korean regime. And of course, South Koreans who were abducted by the North Korean regime. So now, the South Korean government is addressing all three categories of victims. There is great potential for collaboration with Japan. And these are extraordinarily important human rights issues. It's not only about finding out whether POWs or abductees or unlawfully detained people are still alive. It's also about bringing closure to their families. I will make a very personal confession. One of the most difficult things I have to do is to meet with Japanese abductee families. Every year we tell them how committed we are. Every year we have conferences and meetings. What are we doing about their loved ones? We really, really have to bring closure to this issue.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question.
Hello, my name's Justin. I'm with IRI. Really kind of a two-part question. What more could international organizations be doing to try to help on the human rights issue in North Korea? And then what could the average citizen in, let's say, the United States be doing to try to help raise awareness about this?
예, 사실은 국제 단체들의 역할이 굉장히 중요합니다. 조금 창피한 이야기이긴 하지만 국내에서 북한 인권 활동을 하는 것이 유수화가 잘 안 될 때가 많아요. 때로는 대한민국에서 정치를 타기도 합니다. 북한 인권을 정부가 이야기하지 말라, 또 내지는 유수화시키지 말라고 하면 그게 이제 뉴스가 안 될 때가 있어요. 그런데 여기 스칼레트 총장님도 계시고 뭐 IRI도 있고 뭐 이제 북한 인권을 돕는 그 기관들 있지 않습니까? 그래서 연구를 해서 연구 결과가 발표가 된다든가 아니면 뭐 그런 캠페인을 한다든가 이런 부분은 해외에 나와 있는 대한민국 기자, 그러니까 특파원들을 통해 가지고 기사화가 되면 다시 그 서울로 소환되는 그러니까 기사가 더 확산이 되는 뭐 이런 모습도 볼 수가 있겠고 또 어찌 보면 우리가 국제사회 또 국제단체 도움이 필요한 것은 대한민국이 책임 있는 국가임에도 불구하고 중국이라든가 러시아라든가 북한은 조금 저희들의 목소리를 조금 하대 평가할 때가 있어요. 그런데 국제사회에서 이야기한다. 예를 들면 트럼프 대통령이 저를 만나줬을 때도 마찬가지인 겁니다. 제가 서울에서 10년 동안 북한 인권 활동을 한다 해가지고 그렇게 큰 이슈는 되지 않았겠으나 그래도 이제 이슈는 됐었겠으나 트럼프 대통령이 만나줌으로 인해 가지고 북한의 김정은이 움직이고 중국이 움직이고 러시아가 움직이는 어찌 보면 국제사회의 역할이 그만큼이나 북한 주민들의 인권 또 그들의 자유를 위해서 도움이 된다는 이제 생각을 갖고 있고요. 시민들의 그런 활동이 좀 많이 참여가 있다면 더욱 좋겠죠. 저도 오늘 기쁜 소식을 들었는데 우리 스칼라트 총장님 그 단체에도 이제 인턴십 하고 싶은 친구들이 꽤 많이 왔다. 그래서 너무 기쁘고 서울에 이제 저는 지금 나우 멤버는 아닙니다만 나우라는 북한 인권 단체들도 서울에도 있으니 좀 많이 가서 활동해줬으면 좋겠다. 저도 영어를 잘 하는 편이 못 돼서 공부도 해야 되겠지만 또 서울 가면 탈북민들 또 영어를 공부하고 싶은 친구들도 있으니까 봉사도 앞으로 좀 많이 해주시고 자유시민으로 잘 성장시켜서 북한의 통일이 됐을 때 자기 역할을 할 수 있게끔 도와주셨으면 감사하겠다 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
So sadly, North Korean human rights issue had been very politicized in South Korea, and also there are not that many media attention paid to the North Korean issue in South Korea. So the domestic North Korean human rights organizations issues are not getting proper attention. However, if there are international organizations like the IRI or HRNK run by Mr. Scarlatti, if they have some kind of reports on North Korean human rights issues, and if that's reported by the South Korean media's Washington correspondents, it get published in the South Korean media. So that's a good way to raise the awareness in South Korea. So I think that's why the international community is international organizations are very important. And also sadly, South Korea is a responsible party in the international community. However, China, Russia, and North Korea, they don't pay attention to South Korean government's demands. But if the international community combined put pressure on North Korea, for example, when I met with President Trump, I had worked as a North Korean human rights activist for previous 10 years, but my activities didn't get much attention in the media and the community. However, when I met with President Trump, it got attention from North Korea, it got attention from China. So I think it helps to work with international organizations. It's very important. And also for participation from the citizens of around the world, I think it will bolster a lot to their activities. I was happy to know that Mr. Scarlatti's organization, HRNK, was able to hire many interns, tens of them. I wish the organization that I founded, although even though I'm not working there anymore, the now also can have more interns from other countries. I want to after I finish my term, I want to learn more English and I want to work with them, learning more about English. And also I want people citizens to go there, talk to defectors, teach them, talk to them, and have great relationship with them.
Greg, did you want to add to that?
I would like to, but I cannot keep my distinguished board member waiting. Dr. Noland, please go ahead.
My name is Marcus Noland. I am Executive Vice President and Director of Studies at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, a non-resident senior fellow at the East-West Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, and a founding board member of HRNK. I'm not an expert on South Korean politics. I'm not really an expert on much of anything, but my guess is that a progressive is likely to win the next presidential election. And if that happens, then there will be some impulse to try to reestablish some kind of engagement with North Korea. If I were a South Korean capitalist, I would look favorably upon this. North Korea represents a population that's numerate, literate, Korean, will work at wages that are a tiny fraction of those paid in South Korea. If I were a South Korean Union member, however, I would be skeptical of this. Economic integration with North Korea will undercut my leverage vis-a-vis management and will put downward pressure on my wages. But as far as I'm aware, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I would like to be corrected, South Korean unions have remained silent with respect to labor standards and working conditions in the North. Could you explain to me this puzzling behavior, or behavior, as far as I understand it, that seems puzzling to me by South Korean unions?
예, 정말 이제 질문이 깊이가 있는 이제 질문을 주셔서 감사드립니다. 그런데 우리가 총선에서 썼지만 그렇다 해서 다음에 대선에서 지지는 않기 위해서 제가 노력을 하겠습니다. 왜냐하면 어떤 정권에서는 자유를 찾아 넘어온 탈북자들이 그것이 뭐 제3국인 중국이나 동남아 국가가 아닌 대한민국 땅까지 와서 북한으로 인도되고 끌려가서 이제 죽음을 당하는 그런 모습을 보았기 때문에 대북 정책이 아무리 정권에 이제 따라서 또 내지는 뭐 정치적인 그런 뭐 진보 이제 보수의 이념에 따라 가지고 너무 바뀐다 해도 어느 정도 선이 이제 넘어서는 모습들을 보면서 또 저희 역할을 생각하고 있고요. 질문하신 것 중에 이제 경제인으로서 남북 관계를 생각할 수도 있지만 뭐 보면 개선을 좋아할 수도 있지만 이제 노동자들이 직장을 뺏길 수 있다에 대한 답변을 제가 먼저 드린다면 사실은 우리 대한민국이 인구 부족 현상으로 인해 가지고 외국에 있는 노동력이 들어오지 않으면 농사도 짓기 어렵고 또 이제 공장이 중소기업이 돌아가지 못하는 정도까지 왔습니다. 그래서 대한민국에서도 이민청을 만들어야 된다는 이야기가 나오는 현실에 있고요. 그것이 이제 앞으로 쭉 만들어지는 그런 앞으로 전개될 그런 이제 현실이 될 것 같은데 그 입장에서 봤을 때 사실은 북한의 노동력이 도움을 준다면 대한민국에는 큰 도움이 이제 되는 상황인 것입니다. 그래서 어찌 보면 우리가 통일에 대해서 비용이 많이 든다 이렇게 생각하지만 우리가 노동할 인력이 이제 부족한 상황에서 통일이 돼야 되지 않냐는 이런 담론이 몇 년 안에 나올 것이라는 생각을 제가 좀 해보기도 합니다. 그러니까 노동력 때문에라도 통일을 해야 된다는 그런 담론이 혹시 나오지 않을까 이런 생각을 하기도 하고요. 마지막으로 노조에 대해서 말씀하셨습니다. 제가 상임위 후반기 환경노동위원회에 있었는데 너무나도 좀 안타까운 그 현실을 봅니다. 뭐 중국에서 리시어링 되는 이제 기업들이 대한민국에 대한 투자를 했으면 좋겠는데 노조가 너무 강성이어 가지고 다른 주변 국가들로 이제 그런 투자가 가는 것을 보면서 저도 뭐 국민의 세금을 먹는 정치인의 한 사람으로서 안타까웠고 문제 제기를 했었고요. 그리고 북한 노동자들에 대해서 왜 목소리를 내지 않냐. 그러니까 그런 것이 한국의 뭐랄까요? 사회에 만연하다고 보면 될 것 같습니다. 그러니까 인권에 있어서도 어떻게 선택적일 수 있냐는 거죠. 우리 대한민국이 아프리카 주민들의 인권이라든가 뭐 우크라이나라든가 또 미얀마 인권이라든가 중요하게 생각합니다. 그런데 어떤 정당에서는 북한 인권만 하면 전쟁하자는 거냐, 뭐 평화를 깨자는 거냐 이렇게 하면서 이야기를 하지 못하게 하는데 그런 이제 세력들이 결론적으로는 북한의 이제 노동자들의 인권은 이야기하지 않으면서 북한의 이제 존엄이라고 하면서 그 뭐랄까요 북한의 그런 지시 같은 것을 이제 홈페이지에 게재하는 이런 이제 현실을 볼 수 있는 겁니다. 그래서 제가 한번 이야기했어요. 북한 노동자들의 인권을 좀 생각해 보라고. 그래서 제가 이야기했습니다. 북한 사람들이 노동을 하는데 노동의 대가를 주지 않는 나라가 지구상에 어디 있냐고. 먹을 걸 주지 않고 사람을 노예처럼 일시키는 것이 어디 있냐고. 그것이지 북한이라고 이야기하니까 일부 정치인들은 그런 상황에서 어떻게 사냐고 이야기를 하는데 그것이 북한의 현실이고 노조라든가 또 정치적으로 한쪽 이념을 갖고 있는 분들이 정확하게 분석하고 정확하게 이야기해야 되는 것이 필요하다고 생각합니다.
So, thank you, Dr. Nolan, for such an in-depth question. I will work hard to help the current ruling party to win the presidential election in the coming years. I regret that South Korea's North Korean policy changes by the administrations. I think the freedom and the democracy should be the theme of the North Korean policy of the South Korea, but it changes by the administrations, unfortunately. So I want to. That's why I said I will try my best to help the ruling party to win the next election. As to your point to the labor issues, the potential South Korean labor unions or laboring societies to opposition to North Korean laborers inflowing into South Korea. I also want to mention that the demographic change currently occurring in South Korea will eventually force South Korea to accept more immigrant laborers from outside world, maybe including North Korea. As you see, there is a current discussion of setting up a immigration ministry within South Korean government to facilitate migration of more workers from the outside world. And I even think that because of this shortage of manpower and workforce will formulate some kind of South Korean public opinion to support reunification because they want North Korean workforce to come to South Korea. And as to your question about the union's lack of voice for the North Korean labor rights, for the last 2 years in my National Assembly term, I worked at the Labor and Environmental Committee, and I was sad to see the lack of discussion of North Korea's labor rights. I tried to raise the issue every time I was able to. However, there are certain, as I said, there are politicized human rights discussion in South Korea, and they are being very selective to North Korea's human rights issues. These certain aspects of South Korean society, they support the human rights issues in Burma, Ukraine, or other parts of Africa. But when we raise the issue of human rights in North Korea, they saying we don't want a war with North Korea. And so I asked them the questions. Do you guys recognize the labor conditions in North Korea? They're working without wages. They're working like a slave, and this is a very serious violation of their labor rights. So I wanted to raise this issue, but sadly, the whole North Korean human rights issue as well as the labor rights is very politicized.
지성호 대표님, 대한민국 노조 조직력이 한 10% 정도 되죠, 요즘은. So the unionization rate in South Korea is about 10%. You have two umbrella unions, the KCTU, the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, FKTU, the Federation of Korean Trade Unions. These were extraordinarily important civil society organizations. As civil society was being born in South Korea, I'm sorry, Mark, I'm preaching to the choir here, you're the expert. In the late 1980s, early 1990s, their voice is very important. They're not very concerned with North Korea. Why not? Their big concern, once again, is the negative side effects of the Han River miracle, especially what happened after the 1997, 1998 Asian financial crisis. What happened? What happened was that the unwritten social contract was broken. It disappeared. You went to one of the Sky universities, Seoul National University, Koryode, Yonsei, you're set for life. No longer the case. Older son, and this is not a political cultural statement, older son gets married, looks after the parents, no longer the case. Social welfare becomes a big deal. You end up with this distinction between what they call regular and irregular workers in South Korea. 정규직, 비정규직 근로자. What does this mean? It means that, you're a W-2 employee, you used to have benefits, you used to have a pension plan, you used to have health insurance. No. Post 1997, 1998, you have become a 1099 employee by U.S. standards. You're a contractor, 비정규직, right? Irregular. So, these are fairly serious issues that we need to take into account. Not every, and this comes from the Eastern European guy who tends to be a little bit, more conservative, but no, not every South Korean progressive is a communist. There are serious issues that the labor unions are still dealing with. Of course, Mark, North Korea should be part of their concerns. Of course, these issues pertaining to unification and doing business in North Korea should be part of their concerns. But again, regrettably, North Korea played no role in these most recent National Assembly elections. And I'm sorry to say, North Korea will play no role in our own presidential elections coming up this fall. So that's how it goes. Mark?
If Kim Jong-un does the seventh nuclear test in October,
that's the ever imminent seventh nuclear test that's been imminent for 3 years now. Yes, sir, you're right. Yeah. But so that's about it. Of course, unions are very important. IRI, HRNK, we all need to learn about South Korean trade unions. By the way, they're wonderful people. I used to run assessments of South Korean compliance with ILO labor standards. And South Korea has a very, very healthy labor structure, the tripartite structure. Government, the Ministry of Labor, employees associations, labor unions. These guys would spend time with you, giving you an interview, asking for nothing except for one thing. Can we please go out and have dinner and drinks later tonight? And that was it. So again, they're wonderful people. We have to learn how to work with them, and that's about it. We need to persuade them indeed that this North Korean human rights cause of ours is important.
Thank you for speaking about the power of peshiks, or after office dinners and drinks. So we are at the end of our allotted time. So I just want to give, a few seconds to each speaker to just give your last remarks to the crowd. And we'll start with Greg and then finish off with Assemblyman Ji.
Well, let me say that it's a great honor, Erica, to be once again your friend and colleague, and Adam and everybody from IRI. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I think Assemblyman Chi Song-ho is more than just a remarkable North Korean escapee and human rights activist. He's truly a promoter of freedom and human rights throughout the world, going beyond North Korea. In a way, I am happy that you're free from the bonds of being a National Assemblyman. I look forward to doing a lot of great work together. Once again, in the midst of this second Cold War, there is, a lot of work to do together. So thank you for everything you do. I was just happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And Assemblyman Ji?
참, 제가 이제 4년 내 의정 활동을 마무리하는 시점에서 또 이제 워싱턴을 방문할 수 있도록 이제 IRI에서 이제 배려해줘서 감사드리고요. 정말 우리는 이제 그 동지다는 생각이 이제 항상 이제 들고, 참 오늘 이 자리에 또 와서 우리 정말 스칼렛 이제 총장님을 뵙고 또 우리 정말 북한 인권에 관심 있는 많은 분들을 뵈니까 더욱 힘이 나는 것 같습니다. 그래서 사실은 정치가 외로운 자리인 것 같아요. 거기서 제가 마음고생 많았고요. 그 흰머리도 몇 개 더 난 것 같아요. 근데 그럼에도 불구하고 북한 인권을 위해서 일하려고 했던 그런 노력들이 있었고 또 오늘 또 다시 한번 힘을 얻고 북한 주민들에게 이제 그 자유가 선물되는 그날까지 열심히 노력하겠고 다시 한번 감사하다는 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
So lastly, I really want to thank the IRI again. I'm really blessed to end my term as a parliamentarian by coming to DC and have such a great event at IRI. I believe IRI is my colleague. I want to continue working with them. I was very lonely when I worked as a politician. However, I feel very good to see a lot of like-minded people here with who are interested and devoted to North Korean human rights cause. It was very difficult to work at the National Assembly. My hair grew gray, but now I feel like I can work for the North Korean human rights issue more freely. So I want to thank all of you for coming, and I look forward to working with you.